Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm the Chancellor Soul Mike Boone. You tune in to another edition of Soul Facts, a show highlighting the history and music of legendary artists and preserving their legacies. In this two-part edition of Soul Facts features a gifted artist whose powerful vocals help formulate the basic foundation of the Southern Soul era from the late 1960s throughout the late 1980s. Soul Facts Spotlight Artist Tribute to the First Lady of Southern Soul, Miss Candi Staton. Born Wednesday, March 13, 1940, in Hansville, Alabama, in a small rural dirt road community, Chancellor Marie Staton, known to the music world as Candi, grew up picking cotton and helped raise farm animals. Chancellor also grew up in a very abusive home where her father was an alcoholic and a gambler. Her inspiration for music came at the age of 4 when she and older sister Maggie witnessed a 7-year-old girl perform at a church convention. Staton was in awe and said it was one of the greatest voices she's ever heard. Chancellor's second inspiration came after a band of 7 to 8 Pentecostals came and held a revival on a mother's property. Staton recalled that they had some drums and a tambourine and played one beat. They spoke in tongues, danced, and got slain in the Holy Ghost. Chancellor and her sister Maggie would participate by buck dancing and beating on 2 buckets with 2 large sticks. Staton would listen to 3 AM radio stations that featured gospel, blues, and country. Her musical influences were Mahalia Jackson, the Mighty Clouds of Joy, Edmund Galvin Cook, the 5 Blind Boys, B.B. King, and Bobby Blue Bland. She also self-taught herself vocal arrangements by listening to Ruth Brown's Mama, He Treats Your Daughter Mean. At the age of 5, Chancellor's first performance took place at the church she and her mother attended by the discovery of her mother's friend, Ella Cannon, when visiting her home. She heard Staton sing while she was in the back of the house making mud pies. She was stunned. Cannon then informed the pastor of the church, Reverend King, of young Chancellor's talents. The following Sunday service, Reverend King invited young Staton to the platform to sing. Nervously, she performed "The Lord Will Make a Way Somehow." The entire congregation stood on their feet clapping and singing along. Young Chancellor became so frightened she jumped off the platform and ran straight to her mother. Soon afterwards, young Staton and her sister Maggie began singing duets. They would travel with Pastor King when they received invitations to preach in other churches and perform. They would draw large crowds. When Chancellor started school, other local girls became interested in singing with them. Betty Jean Byers and Letha Mae Malcolm. Letha Mae's Aunt Elizabeth was their church pianist and would rehearse with the girls over and over, and soon formed their first group called the 4 Golden Echoes and started performing in various churches all over Alabama. At 10, Chancellor would first experience the school of hard knocks when she took her first drink with an alcoholic father, mixing sugar and warm water together with pure whiskey, which is called a hot toddy. She also learned to cuss like a sailor and gamble like a punter. Staton's father was also very, very abusive toward her mother, which one day led her to packing up the family and move to Cleveland to live with Chancellor's older brother Sam and his wife in a rough area. There she attended Kingsman Elementary School, located in Twinsburg, where she was constantly bullied every day.
I'm not good looking, but I'm some sweet woman's angel child.
While living in Cleveland, Sam's wife discovered Canzutta and her sister Maggie's singing abilities and brought them to a church to enter a singing contest. After their performance, Bishop Mattie Lou Jewell was highly impressed and asked permission from their mother to send them to a Jewell Academy and Seminar School in Nashville, Tennessee. Bishop Mattie Lou Jewell was the overseer of more than 30 churches in the U.S., from Ohio to California. The school taught from grades 1 to 12, and if your grades were any good, you were automatically accepted into Tennessee State University once you graduated from Jewell Academy. Now anxious to escape the Twinsburg schools and constant bullying, Canzutta and her sister Maggie were both accepted and attended the academy through their God-given talents and pleading persistence to their mother's stubbornness. Afterwards, she finally gave him her blessings. While arriving in Nashville, Canzutta was in awe of the city. She and Maggie resided in one of Bishop Jewell's extravagant homes and attended Christian school, where they received a quality education along with proper etiquettes. Staton met Naomi Harrison, daughter of Bishop Lorenzo Harrison, the great pedal steel guitar player. Canzutta, Maggie, and Naomi began to harmonize together and soon formed a group called the Jewell Gospel Trio. Bishop Harrison informed the girls that they were well seasoned enough to make records. Bishop Harrison inked a deal with Aladdin Records in Los Angeles, where the group debuted their first single in 1953 called At the Cross and Rest, 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 followed by I Shall Know Him, back with Over There.
At the cross, at the cross,
Harrison started peddling their records to various radio stations. Each city the group appeared, where they received adequate airplay, in which the listeners were blown away each time. Soon, promoters got involved and began booking places for them to perform. The Jewell Gospel Trio were billed among famous tours, along with the Soul Stirrers with Sam Cooke, Mahalia Jackson, the Pilgrim Travelers with Lou Rawls, the Five Blind Boys, and the Staple Singers. Canzutta soon became romantically linked with both Purvis Staples and Lou Rawls. On one occasion, Jewell Gospel Trio appeared at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York, where the Staple Singers were in attendance. Staton told Staples member Mavis her first name was Canzutta, where Mavis found it hard to remember. So she suggested the nickname Candi, because she was so sweet. It became the staple, no pun intended, of her future stage name. As the group's popularity gained more momentum, the Jewell Gospel Trio signed with Nash Borough Records, located in Nashville, Tennessee, and recorded 10 sides for the imprint, including Too Late, their biggest hit. In 1956, after Canzutta turned 16, her stunning vocals could no longer be detained within the background harmonies. She debuted with her first solo single with Jesus Is Listening, back with the Gospel Ship.
Jesus is listening. Want to take a trip, that old gospel ship.
As Staton and the group matured, they were horribly mistreated and abused. She did, however, receive a scholarship from the president of the Tennessee State University. After Canzutta's sister Maggie graduated and got married and became a school teacher residing in Asheville, North Carolina, she was replaced by a girl named Betty. Naomi, Shirley, Canzetta, and now Betty changed their name from the Jewel Gospel Trio to the Jewel Gospel Singers. After constant traveling and not getting paid and continuous mistreatment from the Academy, Canzetta soon left the Jewel Gospel Singers on the advice of Sam Cooke, who told her she could make it better as a secular artist. Staton moved back to Cleveland and shortly relocated to Birmingham, Alabama, and attended high school. One day, Candi met a snazzy, brazen guy that drove a 1957 Chevy and was very outgoing. His name was Joe Williams. After his continuing persistence, Staton finally gave in to his irresistible charm and personality. During their courtship, Candi soon became pregnant with their first son, Marcus, at the age of 19, and soon afterwards, they got married. 3 other children would follow suit: sons Marcel and Terry and daughter Cassandra, all residing in Warrior, Alabama. Husband Joe had a self-hidden dark side of himself that suddenly surfaced. He became insanely jealous of Candi and became physically abusive towards her, and made her life miserable and very uncomfortable, where she became extremely frightened of him. Candi continued to sing and play in the church while raising her 4 children. Her brother Sam asked her if she would be interested in singing secular music. Staton replied, "No, Sam, I don't do that." Sam forcibly replied, "Yes, you do, and you will." They trekked down to a local record store and purchased 2 songs, Do Right Woman, Do Right Man by Aretha Franklin, and Etta James's Tell Mama. Candi practiced both songs feverishly. Brother Sam set up Candi's first singing gig at the 2728 nightclub in Birmingham. Staton performed Do Right Woman, and the place went wild. Afterwards, she won a regular weekend booking at the club. One evening, famed Atlantic recording artist Clarence Carter came to town. Staton's brother Sam set up an audition for Candi to sing for him. After a rendition of one of Carter's compositions and hit of 1967, Tell Mama, originally called Tell Daddy, Clarence was blown away by her performance and asked Staton if she can go on the road with him. Candi said no because she had a jealous husband that would kill her. So she turned down Carter's offer. Clarence said to her, "If you get rid of that fool, give me a call." Relieved, Staton finally saw a ray of hope shining through the dark clouds of despair. After she stopped performing at the 2728 Club, Candi got a record deal on a small indie label called Unity Records Company and cut a single called Now You've Got the Upper Hand, back with You Can't Stop Me, issued in 1968. Now, some music historians claim that Staton also recorded a duet with country singer Billy Walker entitled The Judgment, back with XYZ in 1968 on Minaret Records. Candi has stated that she knows nothing about this 45 single, and after listening to it, it sounds more like a white artist. Plus, the first credit name on the single is spelled C-A-N-D-Y instead of C-A-N-D-I. After taking several beatings from her husband Joe, Candi filed for divorce. She was now 24 years old with 4 children to support, looking for employment. Staton landed a job at a senior citizens home. The seniors there loved her and said that she was the sweetest little thing. Now, in a classic 2016 autobiographical book, Young Hearts Run Free, Staton also claimed that the seniors couldn't pronounce her first name Canzetta, so they also nicknamed her Candi. She also trained to become a registered nurse at Vanderbilt University, something she said she always wanted to do for her future, but had an urge to perform again. So she went back to singing in those several clubs in town. One day, while in Nashville, Staton heard that Clarence Carter was in town to perform at a club. She and several other friends went to a show and later met Carter backstage. After their meeting, Candi joined Clarence on tour as his opening act. Clarence informed Candi that producer Rick Hall of Fame Records in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, was looking for a singer since Etta James had left him. Carter took Staton to meet Rick Hall at his hotel suite. Candi sang Do Right Woman for Hall and a poem she made up called To Hear You Say Your Mind. Hall was mesmerized. That same evening, Rick summoned all of his session players to meet him at his Fame studios. Staton recorded 3 songs in one session, including her debut hit single, I'd Rather Be an Old Man's Sweetheart Than a Young Man's Fool, composed by George Jackson, originally for Aretha Franklin. But problems arose when Candi had contractual problems with Unity Records. Clarence Carter had a negotiated deal to get her released. Carter's choice was a $1,500 payoff, bargaining down from the $2,000 that Unity had sorted. Well, Carter agreed, and the deal was sealed, without Rick Hall's knowledge. Back with For You, I'd Rather Be an Old Man's Sweetheart Than a Young Man's Fool, hit number 9 R&B on July 26 of 1969. The song was also nominated a Grammy for Best R&B Song, but lost to the Winstons for Color Him Father in 1970.
For you, I'll do anything. I'd rather be an old man's sweetheart than to be a young man's fool. Oh, yeah.
And the hits just kept on coming as Fame Records issued 10 charted singles on Candi Staton, starting with Never in Public, back with You Don't Love Me No More, number 22 R&B on September 27 of 1969. I'm Just a Prisoner of Your Good Lovin', back with Heart on the String, number 13 R&B on February 21st of 1970.
Now, I'm just a prisoner for your good loving. I can't keep my heart from you, baby, but you keep it hanging on your string.
Sweet Feeling, back with Evidence, number 5 R&B on June 13th of 1970.
But I still got that same sweet feeling for you, sweet baby. Every time you come back home, and baby, that's heaven is. Yes, it is.
Stand By Your Man, originally recorded by country singer Tammy Wynette in 1968, back with How Can I Put Out the Flame When You Keep the Fire Burning, charting number 4 R&B on October 31st, 1970, and was Candi's second nominated Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance Female, but lost to Aretha Franklin's Don't Play That Song.
Stand by your man. Give him 2 arms to cling to. How can I put out the flame? Baby, 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 baby. When you keep the fire burning on. Oh, yeah.
He Called Me Baby, recorded in 1962 by Ella Washington on Soundstage 7, and also by the writer of the tune, Harlan Howard, as She Called Me Baby on Capitol Records in 1962, back with What Would Become of Me, number 9 R&B on February 27 of 1971.
He called call me baby, baby, all night long. What would become of me? Baby, baby, baby.
Mr. and Mrs. Untrue, back with Too Hurt to Cry, number 20 R&B on May 22nd, 1971.
But first go and sign a saying as Mr. and Mrs. Untrue. The reason you don't see no tears, baby, I guess I'm just too hurt to cry.
In the Ghetto, originally recorded by Elvis Presley in 1969, back with Sure as Sin, number 12 R&B, August 19th of 1972.
On a cold and gray Chicago morn, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto. Just a shoe.
Loving You, Loving Me, back with You Don't Love Me No More, number 40 R&B, December 23rd, 1972.
There's no place this side of heaven on God's green earth I'd rather be than sitting here loving you, loving me. You don't love me no more.
Do It in the Name of Love, back with The Thanks I Give for Loving You, number 17 R&B on March 24th, 1973. Something's Burning, back with It's Not Love, but It's Not Bad, number 83 R&B, July 1973.
Something's burning, something's burning. It's not love, but it's not bad. You know.
Candi Staton recorded 3 albums for Fame Records. I'm Just a Prisoner in 1970, Stand By Your Man in 1971, and Candi Staton in 1972. Staton made TV appearances, including the September 23rd, 1972 edition of Soul Train, Season 2, Episode 1. Candi Staton signed with the Walden Booking Agency, owned and operated by Alan and Phil Waldron, who booked top entertainers, including the late, great Otis Redding. On Staton's first night performance with Clarence Carter, she was heckled and ran off the stage crying. With the sound advice of singer Jerry Butler, Candi learned how to control the audience with confidence. While together on tour, Candi and Clarence became romantically linked. They soon got married after Staton became pregnant. They moved into Carter's home in Montgomery, Alabama, where their son Clarence Carter Jr. was born in 1970. While on tour, Candi learned of Carter's infidelities, and later domestic violence would occur. She decided that she had enough. One night after an argument, Staton tiptoed into their bedroom closet and pulled out a .32 caliber gun and pointed it directly at Carter, but couldn't pull the trigger as God's word spoke to her. Candi decided to separate from Carter. One morning, she received a registered mail notice from the IRS stating that she owed $10,000 in back taxes. Husband Clarence Carter went to the IRS and claimed that Staton hadn't paid her taxes. Now, with 5 children to support and pressure from the IRS, Candi slipped into a deep depression and tried to overdose on a bottle of sleeping pills her doctor prescribed for her insomnia. Staton says she had a vision of her children's faces and suddenly threw the pills back up from her stomach and never tried that again. During her divorce case against Clarence Carter, the judge awarded Candi $400 a month on behalf of her son Clarence Carter Jr. for child support. Candi and Clarence's finalized divorce came in 1973. Candi Staton's association with Fame Records ended in 1974. Her last recording with the label was Love Chain, back with I'm Gonna Hold On to What I've Got This Time, charting number 31 on Billboard's Hot Soul Singles on December 22nd, 1973. With a string of R&B hits, including covers of country songs from 1969 to 1973, Candi Staton was dubbed the First Lady of Southern Soul by her longtime publicist, Bill Carpenter. Staton's singing style was compared to Aretha Franklin's. So, since Franklin reigned as the Queen of Soul, Candi Staton ruled as the First Lady of Southern Soul. Ray Charles called her the female Ray Charles because she sang gospel, country, and R&B, all various genres wrapped up in her soul. Producer Rick Hall said that Candi gives at least 1 pint of blood for every record she records. Candi Staton learned the harsh realities of road life during the Chitlin circuit tours, of crooked promoters not paying her money after her performances. Staton then carried a Smith & Wesson .32 caliber pistol with a license to carry one. With guidance from her friend singer Johnny Taylor, Candi learned to become a gangster early in her career. As her past pain surfaced and became apparent, the best solution to ease the symptoms was alcohol. Her drinking associates were champagne, Johnny Walker Black, Scotch, and Courvoisier, always stacked in her dressing room before her show. Staton was slowly becoming an alcoholic. As of this association with Fame Records came to a close, Candi signed with Warner Brothers and met a promoter that changed her life for the worst.